You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. Okay. Hey guys, this is Queenie and Pablo, and today we are going to be talking about managing finances in a relationship. What do you think about that, Pablo?
I'm very excited. I think there's lots of things to talk about.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think what's really interesting is that, there are a lot of couples out there and they talk about what they're comfortable with in the bedroom, what they want to do, what they don't want to do. But I think what is a bit of a missed opportunity when it comes to intimacy is that they don't talk about their finances. It might even be even more awkward to talk about how much money someone makes or where they want to be in the next 5 years financially. So that's why we wanted to discuss this today, because I think it's a super important topic. What do you think?
Yeah, and it needs to be discussed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to talk to it with the other person.
So we're going to go through a few different situations, starting all the way from first date, all the way up to what to do when you're, managing kids, and that kind of throws a bit of a spanner in the works, and different ways that couples manage their finances based on their own unique situations, because I think it's important to note that there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's all comes back down to what the two people are happy with ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. People need to be happy, so there's no right way or wrong way, but we're just going to discuss a few ways, what we think, what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And
what I don't like. No, I'm joking.
And you guys can make up your own mind about what's right for you, but hopefully this can just get that conversation started for you. We're going to have a look at a few Reddit stories, just a few questions, because I think it's interesting to get into other people's minds, because we may have our own ideas when it comes to money. I think it's interesting to just see what other people are thinking as well. So this one, we're going to be talking about first dates and who pays on the first date. What's the etiquette nowadays? I think it's a little bit up in the air. So this is the story. I, 25, female, recently had a conversation with a very close friend of mine, 29, male. He says he will never pay on the first date unless he already knows and likes the people. He dates mostly on dating apps, so he definitely doesn't know the girls he dates in person beforehand. So saying he only pays for people he knows and likes is a bit of a moot point when it comes to the dating context. I kept trying to explain to him as a girl that even if I've paid on first dates, I feel like it's a gesture of respect towards the other person. If a guy makes an effort to drive far to my place, then I can easily cover the cost of a coffee, and this goes both ways. If it was a super fancy dinner first date, then I can understand that it is different. But to say I will not even pay for a coffee until I know I like them and they're important to me seems pretty disrespectful and frugal. I find it super weird that he finds it super normal.
Interesting story, for sure. Well, we met actually on Tinder, so that's funny.
Yeah,
because I'm like, am I going to pay for Queenie or not? But if you're going on a date with someone, like if you go there, you're already interested in the person, or you already like the person enough via text to have them.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So it's not enough to pay for coffee?
Or even your own coffee as well?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Or does he go on date of girl that he doesn't like to get free dinner?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, because for me, especially like on Tinder, I definitely wouldn't meet up with everyone that said hi to me.
Maybe he has
I'm
just
curious.
lots of spare time,
Yeah,
and
maybe.
He just, free coffee.
Maybe it's a good side hustle. Maybe I should add that to my side hustles list.
For the next YouTube video, like new bullet points. How to get free food. Don't need to use like these apps like Cashback and stuff.
So I asked you guys on Instagram who you prefer to pay on the first date, and I had 3 options. So the first option, split the bill. Second option, pay for it all. Third option, have the other person pay. And this is pretty interesting to me. 62% of people prefer to split the bill. So it was definitely the most popular option by a long shot. And then the next popular option was have the other person pay. Obviously, I think that, it's nice when someone else pays for you, or at least offers to pay. And the third option, pay for it all, which is also nice because, there are some generous people out there that would like to pay for the first date. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I wasn't expecting split the bill to be as common as it is. In my friendship circles, it is pretty common to split the bill, and Pablo and I also split the bill on our first date. But I just
Don't
didn't
say
know.
that.
Oh, sorry.
I'm joking. It's a joke.
I wasn't actually sure that it would be as popular as it is. So it's very interesting, isn't it?
Split the bill, definitely. I guess you'll pay for it all if you really like the person and want another date. And
Pablo, what are you trying to say?
just to make sure the other person
He's
is.
all awkward now. His face is going
But yeah,
red.
we split the bills.
Yeah, I kind of like it because it's
I think it makes it equal and you don't own anyone anything. And actually, it's better because for the next date, is that you don't feel obligated to be like, oh, I need to go again out because they pay for it. So
yeah, exactly.
it's like it needs to be even more mutual. So
That's true.
I think it's
true.
a good.
Imagine if you weren't having a good date and the other person pays and they're like,
So
"No,
you get the
pay."
next one. Yeah,
and then you're like,
next
oh
one.
dear. And now I
I
feel
get
bad.
the next one. Yeah.
You don't want to look cheap for not going on the next date, but you don't really want there to be a second date. That's kind of funny. All right, next question. So, how would you prefer to manage finances in a relationship? And I found another story on Reddit, which I'm going to read out and we can just discuss it.
You've been spending a lot of time on Reddit,
I
Queenie.
have. It's so interesting because I feel like people can be their true selves and like super honest, and I just love it. Okay, how to deal with money when one person makes more than the other. So 32 female with my 32 male fiance. I've been with my fiance for several years and we're getting married in 5 months. Thus far, we've been splitting the mortgage payments and sharing bills equally. We also shop together, but put our things on the conveyor belt separately and pay separately. Something that's getting kind of embarrassing now that I'm wearing a ring. Eating out and seeing movies are split as well. We've also taken 2 vacations and split those down the middle as well, paying for our own airfare and splitting the hotel bill and other expenses. For the past year, I've been making half of what he's been making. I make approximately $25,000 per year and he makes about $55,000 US dollars, right? I'm assuming so. I've been looking for better work, but it's difficult because I'm at a company where there are excellent benefits, and if I stick it out, I can be making good money in a few years. We're both students who do not have bachelor degrees yet, so finding a decent job paying more here is not easy. Our mortgage and share bills are relatively low, and paying them is not a problem for me. My issue lately has been with discretionary spending. He buys video games frequently and impulsively. He purchased some expensive kitchen electrics, which I immediately get enjoyment from as well on a whim, and most recently purchased a $100 microphone setup for making music. I guess the crux of the problem is that I'm jealous because I can't do that. I have very little money to spend on fun things for myself. I tell him all the time that I'm broke and I have very little money, but he doesn't seem to really get it. I guess I need to know if I'm being a stupid, ungrateful bitch for thinking this way. I get that it's his money and he has worked hard for it. I also know that I was raised with parents who shared their money completely with no separate grocery bills and whatnot. It seems weird to me that we're splitting things like vacations when I can just cover all my bills and savings. I'm also sick of paying separately for everything like groceries and eating out because I find it slightly embarrassing. Too long didn't read. Do other engaged married couples split everything? Is this a common arrangement? Should I just grin and bear it while he goes out shopping and having fun while I'm counting my change for any little luxury like a coffee from Starbucks? Interesting. What do you think, Pablo?
Well, I think there's definitely one party seem happy and the other party is unhappy, and that's probably not good.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? Because maybe I think that's the main thing and the main issue is that one party is not happy, and obviously her writing something on Reddit shows that she's not happy, and I guess from what I see, she gives him some hints of, oh, I'm broke, and we're, oh, you broke. Not
Yeah.
continuing.
Oh, yeah, cool. Good for you.
Hey, Queenie, I'm broke. Okay, Pablo, you
Oh,
broke.
that sucks for
That
you.
sucks for you. But I guess she probably needs to sit down and be like, yeah, I'm broke because we split everything and I don't have enough to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
What about you, Queenie?
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem like, it's not like he's doing anything wrong, she's doing something wrong, or they're doing something wrong as a couple. Like, the problem is more so that she's not happy and they haven't really spoken about this. And maybe they do need to reassess or like discuss something that they're both happy with and come up with a win-win-win situation. Win for her, win for him, and win for both of them as a couple. And there are a few different ways that people split costs in a relationship. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no answer that will fit everybody.
Yeah, I think definitely like when like we started dating, like there was a similar unbalance, and the fact that we talked about and split evenly some expenses and split according to income some others was really helpful. And the thing that we both agree on those together, it's like there is no like someone unhappy in their side just being broke, or some other one like just enjoying the money while their partner is just not enjoying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think in the early days of Pablo and my relationship, I was a student. Pablo's 5 years older than me, so I was still studying at uni. I was working 2 part-time jobs. One was an unpaid internship to try and get my foot in the door. The other one was a telemarketing job. So I just only just had enough for like everything, and we were splitting expenses like 50-50, even though he was earning a lot more than me. I can also feel, I understand where she's coming from, because I felt like that at the time as well. Like, we would go on holidays and Pablo would be like, hey, let's do this expensive activity. And I'm like, haha, no, I can't afford that. Let's just do something free, like sit on the beach and
Go to the pool.
And then it was a bit awkward for both of us, because Pablo obviously was limited by how much I could spend. I was limited because I was broke and, was trying to make my way in the corporate world and had to make sacrifices, like doing the unpaid internship to get experience. And then, we had a discussion, decided to split some things evenly, split some things according to income. And then eventually I started to make more money and it kind of evened out and we went back to 50-50 again. So I think it's one of those things that's always dynamic and it always changes based on like your situations,
Exactly, because maybe later she could be earning more money.
Yeah.
And then that could be a different dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe he needs to have a discussion with her and they need to work things out. Because I think the thing is that, when you're a couple and it's like, it's nice to know that you will have each other's back. If I'm earning a lot of money, if Pablo's earning a lot of money, we kind of know, we've got each other's back, no matter what happens, we're like a team. So
yeah, exactly. I think a dynamic is important because it changes quickly as well in nowadays.
So let's see the most popular options. So we asked you guys on Instagram what you guys like to do. So most popular answer, split evenly, 52%. Next one, split according to income, 36%. And the next popular one was one person pays for everything, 7%. And then completely separate, 5%, which I think is really, really interesting. I wish I could put in another option. I would put in like shared, you kind of have like a shared bank account that you put money into, because that's actually what Pablo and I do now. We're both full-time creators, working on Invest with Queenie and Pablo. So our income comes into our separate bank accounts, but we also have a shared account that we share expenses. So,
and also something they haven't mentioned is how much like does she have maybe extra time to do things at home, and then she doesn't get paid for that, but then he makes more money. So
that's true, exactly. And we'll go through that later as well, because I think that's really important to talk about, unpaid work that people do around the household. That stuff matters as well.
Of course,
it's really important.
So on to investing together or separate. We haven't got a story for this one. Haven't been spending enough time on Reddit, Queenie.
Sorry, I missed this one. Whoops. But we have a story from, I guess, our own lives, which we can share. To be honest, Pablo and I didn't really need to have a big discussion when it comes to investing and assets like I think a lot of couples may, because when we met, Pablo and I were both in a similar-ish financial position. So we both had student loans, both kind of had like a negative net worth and weren't making very much money, no assets, barely cash in the bank.
So for us, it was starting from the ground. So there was no like, oh, I have like $100,000 in the bank. This is mine. Or
yeah, exactly. It wasn't like awkward. Like, I have a house. You know, you're living in my house, and how are we going to split this?
We both started from like negative net worth. So that was pretty easy for that. And then, we just started basically investing together, like in a robo-advisor.
Yeah.
Just simple, like trying to put like $1,000 a month combined into this account. And
yeah, it's pretty interesting because I guess for us as well, something else that happened was we went on a partnership visa together, and I think that really made us like solidify that, okay, if we break up, it's going to be 50-50. So our mindset was always, this is our money, these are our assets. And I think it's been really helpful as well because we both, it's not that we kind of like are looking at each other's expenses and are like, oh, you can't buy that or you can't do this. But we do like to think about ourselves as individuals, but also us as a couple. So we do like to talk about expenses, and, you know, I'm probably not going to spend like $10,000 on something crazy because I know that it also affects Pablo as well. So like we discuss big expenses, you know, expenses over $100, $200, because it is like our finances and it affects both of us. But I think we are pretty fair when it comes to what we want to spend money on.
Yeah, but in terms of investing, I guess, so we started together and then just added more money. If I was making more, I will try to invest more. When you were earning more, you'll try to invest more, still having like extra cash. But that was kind of how we did it, and that way it was always growing the best possible way. And then we'll have still some money to spend on the side based on how much we're earning, but just slightly more investing if we're earning more as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of nice because we kind of, you know, at the beginning, Pavel was earning more. Then there were some years I was earning more, and it was kind of like nice that we could both work together towards building our portfolios and like a team.
Exactly. So does it matter how much your partner makes?
Ooh, I think this is such a juicy question. So let's read this Reddit submission. Does money matter in relationships? And another note, this is from 10 years ago, and I think maybe times have changed, maybe thoughts have changed on this, but I still thought it was an interesting query. I've been with my boyfriend for a little more than 2 years now. We've been living together for over 7 months. I'm 30 and he's 29. We have a really happy relationship. Obviously not perfect because nothing ever is, but we get along really well, laugh together, have similar interests, rarely fight well when we do, etc. It's the best and happiest relationship I've been in. Lately, we've started discussing marriage, and that makes me really happy. But I have one doubt that keeps niggling at the back of my brain. I'm a professional, a chartered accountant, working for the government and make good money, and I will likely continue to do better and better. He is currently working for barely more than minimum wage and is somewhat confused about where to go with his life. He's not lazy, but spent a lot of his 20s trying to break into an industry that's very hard to get into, but with only moderate success. The job he's in now is great experience that could lead to something better, but it's all very uncertain. We both have significant student loans to pay down. Up until now, the money hasn't mattered to me. I've never been someone who expects my boyfriend to buy me dinner or presents or whatever, and he's never had a problem making the rent. But now that we're considering spending the rest of our lives together, I worry about what our future will be like. We both want kids, and I don't want us to support them on one income. We would never be poor even if he didn't work at all, but I worry I could become resentful of having to live at a much lower standard of living than I could if he contributed more financially. I want to be able to travel and have a nice house and take maternity leave. He may eventually be making an income that makes those things possible, but it's all very uncertain. He will never make as much as me, and that's fine, but even if he just made half, I would be happy. I'm not considering leaving him because, as I said, I'm really happy except for this one niggling down. I honestly can't imagine finding someone else who would treat me better. Up until now, I've always considered I'd rather have a great guy who was poor than a rich guy who was kind of a dick. But given my worry, should we hold off on getting engaged until his financial situation is resolved? Or should I try to let it go and be happy to plan the rest of my life with someone I love? Too long didn't read. I make a lot more money than my boyfriend. We are considering marriage. Is a financially unbalanced marriage a bad idea, or does love conquer all?
I think it comes down to what you said at the beginning of the podcast, and is, it's really unspoken financial and goals moving forward as a couple, and you want to make sure that you are aligned, like not just financially, but in goals in life, and they seem that they have similar interests, but maybe their vision and their goals is kind of different, and that might be a problem moving forward later on. That would be interesting actually, because this was 10 years ago. So what's happening now? Are they
I'm
still?
curious. Let's reach out to For Love or Money. I'm so curious. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it's like the be all and or end all, like money for sure, but it is really important. Like
I don't
let's be
think it's
real,
just money. It's more like
Lifestyle.
lifestyle goal, like
Yeah.
just the goal in life. Like maybe.
Yeah, being able to travel, have a nice house. Because, yeah, those are important things. And, she wouldn't want to be resentful moving forward. But I'm curious about whether she's brought this up to her partner as well. Because I think that the most important thing is for them to discuss these things rather than just her having a bit of uncertainty and him just not knowing that there's anything wrong. Because I'm sure they'd be able to find a solution that they'd both be happy with. Because it sounds like, he's like trying to pursue his passion, like he's doing what he loves doing, and he's obviously trying to break into an industry that might be really hard. But maybe there could be, I don't know, like a medium option where they could both be happy, maybe even like potentially he could earn money, or he could do like another job, maybe slightly different, do like a part-time thing or something like that. And also I think she should also consider, I think what's also important is like, if you are with a partner that is open to taking care of the kids or contributing more around the home, like that's really important too. Maybe they should have some of those discussions as well, because if he can potentially like help more around those things, maybe that could also lead to her being able to maybe make more money, or potentially he could look at some other potential jobs that he could look at that could increase their income. I don't know. There are a few different options. I think they could potentially like list a few of them out, draw up a list of pros and cons, and see which one they'd be the most happy with.
Yeah, what's interesting also, they've been together 2 years, right? Is that in these 2 years, has it always been stuck like this, trying to get into the industry and not moving ahead? Or was there like a growth mindset and trying different things as well? And you see that there is potential? Or is it always been trying, failing the same thing over and over, and then maybe 10 years down the track, that's probably going. Growth mindset, definitely something to consider.
So we asked you guys on Instagram, would you prefer your partner to earn more money than you, earn less than you, earn the same, or does it matter to you? And the most popular answer was that it doesn't matter to you, 60%. So that was the most popular answer by far. The next most popular answer was earn more than you, 24%, and then earn the same, 13%, and the least popular option, earn less than you, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think, well, first, earning the same is really hard. Like, be like, I'm not gonna get a pay raise. I'm gonna, very hard. I think it should not really matter as long as you're happy with what you make and yourself, and the more your partner make, and the more happier they are. Because sometimes you make more money, but you have less time, free time. So sometimes it's not always good to. The more is not better always.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe your partner earns heaps more than you, but doesn't have time for you to go on dates, to
exactly.
help out around the house as well. That's another con to somebody earning heaps of money, right? So
yeah, sometimes they don't have time the weekend just because they earn more and they have to do extra work. So
yeah, lots of things to consider. I think Pablo and I, our mindset about money's changed for sure over the years. Like, we no longer want to just earn heaps and heaps of money and have no time. Time is really important to us. So, yeah. So, managing household tasks.
We can go through what we do, and I guess, do you want to say? Queenie doesn't want to say it. So, I guess I will do not most of the tasks, but like the main
what do you think our split would be?
be 65 for me, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I'd
depends
say
of
so.
the days and the things. But then also you'll do maybe more content while I'm doing stuff. So it's fine, you know.
Yeah. And when Pablo's editing videos, I'll be making lunch and things like that. So,
As long as we're happy. And I think having like one person doing everything and the other, that would be a bit annoying.
yeah, it just would not work for us because I think both of us, we don't love like doing the household tasks, you know, like it just needs to be done, but it's not like one of us really loves cleaning
Well,
or,
there's a reason why it's named chores,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Because no one
But some
likes.
people also, you know, they really enjoy it or they find it satisfying, like
Oh, it
cleaning
is
stuff.
satisfying to have it clean. But I think we're trying to even split by doing things that we both likes.
Yeah, that was a good point as well. Somebody said, I try to do the things that my partner hates, and she does the same for me. And if we both hate it, we do it together. And I just thought that was just beautiful because how nice is that teamwork? I think it's so true. Like, you've got to do the things that you like doing, and your partner should do the things that they like doing, and then the stuff that you guys don't like, maybe find a way to split up those tasks evenly. And Pablo's also been a lot more, you know, he tells me, he's like, Queenie, do the laundry today. And I'm like, okay, I did the laundry. He's the boss when it comes to like this stuff. He's like, do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
The key is to make it easier for ourselves.
Yeah.
We have like the least time we have to spend and the more time we can spend together doing other stuff. So
Yeah.
obviously trying to get good appliances, things like that, and being so it's faster. Yeah.
RoboVac, guys, honestly, it's changed my life. It's expensive, not gonna lie, it was about $600, but the floors are so clean, you know, like we would never do the vacuuming because it's one of those things that, you know, it's not as obvious that it needs to be done. Whereas, you know, if you've got a spill in your kitchen, got to clean that up. So just having the robot vacuum, just vacuum the floors while we're out on a walk is just so nice. And there's hardly any like dust and dirt and stuff on the floor. It's all done. I can't wait to have like a Tesla pot or something, you know, like seriously, I can't wait.
Maybe you can make the podcast instead of no.
Yeah, so we asked you guys on Instagram, how would you prefer to manage household tasks? So the most popular option, split evenly, 44%. Next popular, actually it's a tie. Whoever wants to do what, or whoever has more time, they're both 26%. So my thinking with this one is like, you know, if one person wants to do this, the other person does something else. That's how they split it up, you know? And the other option, whoever has more time, is like, you know, if maybe one person works more, the other person is home more, then, you know, maybe the person that has a bit more time to work on these things will do it more. And then the last option, not me, smiley face, 4%. It's funny. Oh dear. So yeah, now on to managing kids in a relationship. Let me just bring up this Reddit story. My wife and I both earn over $175,000 a year, and we are considering having children. She is asking me to compensate her for 6 to 12 months as compensation for the time she will have to take off to have our child. I do not know whether she is pregnant or not. So anyway, basically with this story, they're both very independent, so I'll just read from the post. We are both high earners, both earning over $175,000 a year after tax. We purchased our home together and we have agreed to split the finances 50-50. We paid for our wedding, honeymoon, everything 50-50. Although I did pay for the cost of our rings and her engagement ring. Our mortgage payments were 50-50 and we comfortably own our home now. So much of our income goes to savings, investments, home improvements, and discretionary spending. Because of our incomes, we felt it would be best to keep our finances separate. We're both highly independent people and both very career driven. It's part of the reason I'm so attracted to her. She's amazing at what she does and I'm so proud to be able to introduce her as my wife and explain what she does. Unfortunately, our first 2 years of marriage were hampered by COVID and lockdowns. We would have loved to have travelled and saved up quite a bit in order to do this. Yesterday, I came home and my wife was on the phone. She seemed like she was in a hurry to end her conversation and tried to evade my question when I asked who she was talking to. Anyway, so She invites him to tea. Her workplace allows for maternity leave for up to a year, but only provides 50% of her salary for up to 6 months. The remaining 6 months is unpaid. She was very direct and said that while her insurance would cover the vast majority of hospital-related costs during pregnancy and childbirth, taking a 6-month break from work could cost her almost $50,000, since her pay would be cut in half. She is asking me to compensate her $50,000 in addition to agreeing to split any related but unexpected costs to pregnancy and childbirth. Her stance is that she is doing something for us to start a family, but is not a true 50-50 split if she is expected to take a financial hit for it and I am not, given that our finances are separate. She had printed a list of expectations in terms of what she expected financially, listed some things that her insurance may not cover. I see the logic in that, but I'm really turned off by this because she is essentially asking for me to pay to have her child or children. She saw my hesitation and she just doubled down. While her ideal is to return to work after 6 months, she says it's a real possibility that she may require more time off and decide, as things happen, to take up to a year off. So she has another plan drafted for that. For the first 6 months, her work will give her 50% of her salary, and I would not compensate her for the rest. But for the next 6 months, since her work would not compensate her, and because the loss is something she is doing for the family, she is comfortable splitting the loss of her income and only asking me for 50% of her salary instead of 100% for the second 6-month period, and she will take the loss of 50% of her salary. The idea, I guess, is that we both suffer half the loss of income for the second 6-month period. However, if she takes 7 to 11 months off, any months after the 6 can be prorated. But the immediate and essential element here is that she wants me to pay her $50,000 to $100,000 to compensate her for the loss of her salary for 6 to 12 months as a result of her having our child. I really do not know how to process this. My first thought is shock because despite our salaries, $50,000 to $100,000 is a lot to demand. The idea of a payment plan to have our child is just gross, and many couples manage to do this without paying their wives to have children. But then I suppose most couples are married legally, and a loss to one person's income is a loss to everyone. So in our situation, it makes logical sense, but there's something so transactional about it that puts a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, so that's pretty much the gist of the story. What do you think about it, Pablo?
Yeah, I think like the guy just said it's very transactional and not really like, I think she had an idea. The thing that we don't know is what was his idea. If she doesn't bring that to him, what was his idea? Would it be to just keep it as usual and let her? And he using the word like suffer, and I feel like they are having a child and he's like suffering. Like,
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange, word to bring up in that instance, like the idea is we both suffer a loss to our income and, just the context of that word suffer, it's kind of like, it's a happy situation. You guys are going to have a baby potentially, like it's, I understand the financial impact that it has on couples and marriages and things like that. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's in a very they're talking about it in a very positive manner or in a positive light. I understand her point, especially since they are doing everything 50-50 and that's the way it's always been. Like, obviously she's going to take time off to have children and he isn't taking time off to have children and he's not birthing a child. Like, why should she have to suffer the loss to her income to something that they both want to do together when they pay for everything 50-50, Like, it just makes total sense, like, that she would want to be compensated, obviously, And I think also just the way that maybe, like, he hasn't brought it up to her, she had to bring it up to him. She's kind of drawn out contracts and, like, he's a bit, not sure about it. It's a bit... Yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame that, like, it had to kind of go a bit awry, like it should be something that's happy and
yeah, it should be like
discussed.
a happy moment, like having a child, and both parties should help, bring thing on the table. But I don't think like maybe I personally maybe bring like a contract or like also having you pay salary, like it's a bit a weird way to act. But maybe I guess because like you said they were doing like 50-50 before, but maybe they need to move on and do something slightly.
Yeah, I guess context matters because they're probably like both professionals, maybe like lawyers or something like that. Maybe it's like not normal for us because we're not lawyers. We wouldn't draw up contracts and things like that, and we share things pretty evenly. But, you know, there are other couples out there that prefer to do that more so, you know, which I think is smart because, like, if you're going to have a kid with someone, like, you want to make sure you're protected. But yeah, I guess it's just not really what we would do, not really our style, but each to their own. And I think it's an important point to discuss because, yeah, I think it's a lot of money. 50 to 100 grand
I guess
is
they are
a lot
both
of
on
money.
175,000. So
Yeah, it would be different for other couples and, yeah, other relationships. But damn, that's a lot of money for having a baby, you know? Like, it really puts it into perspective, I think, like how much it can cost people, especially women. You know, there's a super gap. Women on average generally get paid less, and, you know, it's generally because women are having children and they kind of miss out on their career and things like that. Those are things that she's not even factoring into her calculations, like what will happen in 6 to 12 months when she takes her maternity leave. Maybe she won't have as much career progression as her partner, who will potentially have more career progression because he's been working throughout this time than her, you know? So it's probably even more than that 50 to 100 grand. Like, let's be real. And it's like...
Which is maybe time for them to maybe change the 50-50 split, and because it's going to change after she has the child and after she gets back to work.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder how they're going to split the time of, like, taking care of the baby, like what's going to happen, and they're going to hire like a nanny, but also like whose responsibility would that be? Would that be 50-50 split as well? And how are they going to make sure that happens? Because they both earn a lot of money. So like one person spending a few extra hours per week, that's also another big cost that also people consider, you know? Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's good that people are having these conversations because...
Yeah, you don't want to have a kid and then but they seem to be like both suffering, and that's probably not great.
Yeah, I know. It makes me sad that they're both, you know, it's not like a happy conversation.
Yeah, they are more like stressed about having a baby, even though they make so much money.
I know. It's so sad. I just want to give them both a hug and just be like, congratulations, you're going to work through this, you know, like you guys are going to make it through. You've got plenty of money, you've got your finances sorted. It's just about finding something that's fair. But I don't know if 50-50 exists, you know, that's the messy thing about life, isn't it?
But I'm sure people even will not be happy with 50-50, and that's why it needs to be added.
Exactly. And also, like, you know, she's obviously going to be taking on more responsibilities in being pregnant. Like, that's going to have a toll on her body, her mental health. Like, it's not just the income that she's losing, it's also like the health impact of having kids. We asked you guys on Instagram. We weren't quite sure what to do for this one because there'd be so many different situations that people have. So I guess just what we did ask was, how do you prefer to manage kids and finances and like split the costs of that in a relationship? And there were just so many different responses, you know. So some people preferred to take on the responsibility of like children and finances like evenly, you know, both take like an equal amount of time off work, both contribute equally to the finances. In some relationships, maybe one person decides to, you know, leave their job for a few years in order to take care of the kids while the other person works. There's no right or wrong way, you know. It's all about what one person, you know, what both people are happy with.
It needs to be like a win-win-win, like win for both parents and the child as well.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you have that's the most important thing. And I think it's good that they're having this discussion, because even though it's probably going to be a big blowout for this high income earning couple, it's important. It's an important discussion, because you don't want to be getting into your, I don't know, like much later in life and, you know, looking at your super balance and being like, damn, that 50, 100 grand that I lost to have a kid, that's compounded to like, I don't know, $200,000 or something less in my super than my partner, because that's what happens as well. So you got to talk about this stuff. Anyway, so I'm so curious to hear from you guys. What do you think about managing money in a relationship? What are your thoughts on it? How do you guys like to manage finances? Do you like talking about it? Is it awkward? Let us know.
Yeah, very curious.
And thank you so much for watching our very first podcast. We really enjoyed it.
That
what
was
did you
fun.
think, Pablo?
I liked it. First time.
Yeah. And stay tuned for more. See ya.
See you. Bye.